What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. NBA Hardwood show. Nice 6-game slate on this Thursday. Mangone, DC, breaking it down with me. If I say two teams, the Bucks, the Nets, I think that's what this slate is mainly about. Throwing some other secondary pieces, but those are the two teams. KD out, Giannis out. Looks like getting the most exposure. DC, throw it to you first. What's going on, man? Saw you a couple days ago. Anything changed since I saw you last?
No, nothing changed in those 2 days. Excited for the games tonight, basketball games, and then really excited for the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend. Obviously, what do we have? 2 games Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then 1 more on Monday. I love wild card weekend in the NFL. Love the back-to-back games where they're all kind of island games, and it makes it a lot of fun. So very, very excited for football this weekend, and a couple more days of basketball, MMA back on Saturday. Excited for that as well. So fun time of the sports calendar right now for sure.
Oh yeah, strict daddy Sean Strickland back in our lives. Next week, I'm really pumped. Next week, sweet dreams. Jamal Hill finally gets his chance in Brazil. That'll be a fun one. Throwing you a curveball, Michael Vasquez. Had to mix it up a couple days of the year on you. So yep, no hat today. Man, what's going on, man? How's the gym treating you? Getting ready for Snyder? What's going on?
Nothing new. You guys talking UFC? I don't even know what that's about. So, Sean, whoever, I don't even know who he is. So, but I'll be watching football this weekend, not UFC. I'll be in the NFL streets, NBA as well. Of course, I'll still be in those like I am every weekend, and hoping to have a good slate. But I'll tell you this: I had people in the chat. They were telling me in Discord yesterday. I said I didn't like yesterday's slate. There's too much value, and they're like, "Oh, that's bad mojo." I'm just sick of all the value slates, right? Come on, Let's at least make it where someone can build a bad lineup, right? I mean, it's pretty much almost impossible. But you could look at yesterday's slate and say, yeah, a lot of people did build bad lineups because guys like DeJounte Murray ended up busting at 70%. But I'm just sick of the all hey, obvious play value slates. Let's give it a little bit of a break, NBA. Give us maybe 5 days off from it, and then we can move back to this garbage.
I think I know your answer because I've heard you complain about this in the past, but are you DC side where you like these games? Holden DC talked about a couple days ago. Main slate NFL where you get 8, 9 games going at once. You get the 345 games or 445, whatever it turns out to be, 405. And then you get that and the slate's over. Or do you like the one game starts on Saturday, you get the next game Sunday morning, and just each game's right after each other? What do you like more, Mango?
I kind of like the each game after each other, but I understand the reasoning for liking the. Obviously watching Red Zone is way better than watching each game on an island. But I think it's fun, and it's towards the end of the year, and I do miss Red Zone. But I think a Red Zone playoff would not be it, right? You want to watch this.
I don't like Red Zone, man. It's people that watch only Red Zone, what about all the players that you're sweating that you can't even see? I need to see every play that goes on.
I'm tracking everything else, but I like Red Zone. Red Zone's definitely my.
Just get 5 TVs. Red Zone's the nuts on the main TV, but then you got secondary games everywhere else.
Well, yeah, of course, but at that point, then you're really you're not watching that much Red Zone, right? You're watching whatever game kind of has your.
You're listening to him more than I guess you're watching. You hear his voice fluctuation change. You tune in.
If you're degenerates like us and can watch football for 11 straight hours, that's what you want. You can get to see every single play. You sweat every single play out. That's the best way to do it.
I do enjoy watching a game on an island, though. Maybe it's because I played football. I don't know why, but I do thoroughly enjoy watching as long as it's a decent game. When it's a bad one, I'm okay. The reason the AFL doesn't work in all these bad football leagues because there's not enough good quarterbacks, right? And that's the real problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you could get 10,000 on the AFL, you would be interested in all your players. If the prize pools were the same as NFL and the AFL, I'd be
it's harder to watch for sure. I
hate watching games with bad quarterbacks. College football, that's one reason why it's tougher for me to get into it. It's just
the nice thing in college football, the defense is at least pretty bad, where you can get a lot of scoring, and so it's more exciting in that way. It's kind of one of the reasons why I think.
Yeah, the bumps and no, man, Goat is never in the UFC streets. Joey Work, on the other hand, his thing right after. What's up, boys? He's always in the UFC streets, mainly on the betting streets. Does a good job, but definitely not Mangone. I mean, huge prize pools. I'm definitely excited. The thing is, I wish one of the sites, DraftKings or FanDuel, made the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or just Saturday, Sunday, the full slate, their main one with $1 million up top, and said, I like the 2 gamers. I'll keep going right back to the FanDuel. I think it's 555 or something. maybe $5. You can 150. That's what I usually do. $20, still a little steep. I mean, a million up top, second place, 100K. Like if all DC, you had the sweat earlier where you were sitting up there earlier in the year. It wasn't a 2-game slate or 3-game slate.
2-game slate, yeah, quarter to go, and I was sitting up there for a milli. Had a chance,
and then you fell $999,000 and $900 or whatever it is.
Got like $60 or something.
Yeah.
The worst part about that sweat for you is like you knew, like you were like, I can't just have any scoring because like it was just such a low scoring night where
every single play is like
you just drop. Like,
you don't have.
Yeah. Basically, like it was one of those nights where it's just like I just needed to end, like because like if anyone scores, it can flip so much. Like so that was the frustrating.
It got to one point where it was like, all right, if this guy gets like one more catch, then I'm out. I can't remember who it was. So at that point, or like maybe it was a running back who just needed like one more carry. Like, please get injured. Please get injured.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll cheer for it. I don't care.
Anything will hurt you at that point. But yeah, that's why I feel better. It's a lot easier to get the $5 one. And I mean, there's nickel stuff out there too, but just FanDuel and DraftKings, they're big prize pool. Still 200K up on top for FanDuel, or $1 million on DK, but 750 compared to 3750 it definitely feels a lot less. But Big T, you came in a little late. Where's the hat at? Got to throw a curveball once in a while. Even Aroldis Chapman throws gas every single time. Got to mix in the off speed once in a while for the people. And I also heard you chirping the hair not too long ago, saying a lot sharp except that hair. Had to go out there get a haircut a couple days ago for you, Big T. So showing it off for you. I say we get into it though. We got 6 games on the slate again. Milwaukee and the Nets are the main spots. Giannis, no Durant. A lot of people would be going to them. But like button, subscribe button before we get into it. That's all we ask from you. We appreciate it. OKC Thunder, Philadelphia 76ers, 233 total. Philly is favored by 9.5. On the injury report, still Robinson, Earl, Poku out for OKC. Nothing has changed. Going over to the other side, no injury news on the 76ers. So 2 healthy teams. Man, I'll start with you in this one. It's not the Bucks. It's not the Nets. So ownership probably will be pretty low. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, I think the only guy that's really going to get ownership in this game, possibly, and he might not even get that much ownership, is Joel Embiid, right? Just because raw points can matter. And when it comes to raw points, you could make a case for Harden, but the problem is guard is just so good when it comes to raw points, right? We have Luke on the slate. He's like one of the best raw point guys you can find in DFS right now. So Embiid is like the raw point center option that you can go to. I think OKC is just a little too crowded right now for my liking. I'm just going to stay away from them on this slate. Just doesn't feel like the right slate to mess around with them. Every single slate is different, right? In some slates, value is better than others. And yesterday was definitely one of those slates where there was a lot of good value plays, and we saw some lower scores because a lot of like those studs kind of busted and some of these other good values. But this is definitely a tough one to see some of these guys dud for sure. So I can't mess around with the OKC options too much. And even like the Sixers, I don't want to go to them that much either. I think Embiid, like I said, he makes sense just because if you end up spending down for some spots, right? Let's say you spend down for Gabe Vincent, you spend down for Pat Connaughton, and like Ben Simmons, like you start needing money to spend at your center position, right? Like it's just naturally you might need that eventually. So that's why he makes sense. He will be a stud that will get probably a little overlooked. Maybe he's 20% at the most. I could even see 10%. So, yeah, and it's a great matchup, right? OKC is a perfect spot to attack. We know they're terrible against big men. So definitely going to be a pretty interesting option there in Joel Embiid, but that's really it for this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Embiid's a very strong play. Ownership, some people will go to him, but he's not going to be too crazy. Outside of that, I don't know. DC, you see anything? And talk about Embiid, you see anything outside of him?
Yeah, I'm not going to OKC here unless, they roll someone out that we're not expecting right now. But right now it doesn't look like they're going to do that. Embiid's the guy that if you're going to go to someone in this game, it's got to be him. If you watch the Sixers, it does seem – I don't have the numbers here to back it up, but it does seem like they kind of attack the opponent's weakness, specifically with Embiid, right? When he's got like a tough defensive center, like Mitch Robinson comes to mind – they won't post him up as much, right? They'll kind of play through James Harden a little bit more. But when you go up against OKC and it's, Mike Muscala and Baisley and Jalen Williams, yeah, they're going to go through Embiid. OKC really good at defending the pick and roll. And they're also, I think they allow the first or second fewest transition points in the league. So, at least on paper, should be decent at kind of slowing down the James Harden attack. and, slowing down Philadelphia from getting out and running, two things that could lead to more Embiid usage. So he's been a monster recently. I mean, he's put up some huge games, even in limited minutes. And when he's gotten minutes, you're looking at 60, 70 points most of the time. So he looks awesome right now. Matchup couldn't be any better. And I do think he'll go a little bit overlooked with so many studs on the slate, and most people probably not go into this game much in general. So, yeah, Embiid the guy for me here. Probably not going to go to much else.
I like it. 3 for 3 there. Can play Embiid. Otherwise, I think you're fine. Fade in the first game, 30 minutes after the next game on the slate, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets, Toronto Raptors, 231 total. Toronto is favored by 8. On the Charlotte side, Oubre's still out. Gordon Hayward's still doubtful. Nothing has changed there. Raptors losing Otto Porter, but he's been out. Nothing has changed there. So, again, DC, I'll go back to you in this one to start. Two healthy teams. Don't think we see much ownership here. I see Cody Martin popping a little bit. Min price 3K. Guard, small forward eligibility. I mean, I don't think he's going to be very high owned, but he's min price. He gets you other studs if you want to go that right. Scotty Barnes. I mean, what do you see in this one?
Yeah, I guess if you want 15 fantasy points, you can play Cody Martin. I don't see going there. I don't really see going there myself. I mean, Siakam, I guess, would be the guy I use. We just saw this game happen last time out, right? Yeah, both back-to-back, both games in Toronto. So obviously doesn't always happen to go down the same way we saw, but we saw, for the most part, some pretty modest scoring. I mean, Siakam put up 48, but you probably need more than that on this slate, I think, for 10.3K with all the studs on it with some good value. So Siakam would be my favorite. But yeah, I just don't see much here. I mean, I get trying to find some value on Charlotte, but Raptors aren't my favorite team to do it against. And, obviously we've got some really, really good games with good value coming up. So I know we got an hour to fill, but I just don't see much here that I really want to play.
You're on mute, Title.
Yeah, thanks. I saw that. Mangone, I'll throw out another name now that you can actually hear me. Mason Plumlee, he's been playing really good basketball. Just trying to throw out any possible low-owned plays. And, I mean, this game doesn't seem to get much ownership. Are you going here?
Yeah, I struggle with this game. I know, Mark Williams has been a good value, but is this a value I want to go to really today? I don't think so. This is definitely going to be one of those slates where, there's just such good value that's hard to get to this game, right? It's just that's one of the problems. If you look at Charlotte, and actually I want to look at how LaMelo – I talked about this the other day on the show. I talked about how, LaMelo could get boxed and one, and I saw Terry Rozier popped off. Now, did LaMelo – let's see if his shot attempts were down because that's key. Now, he still had 22 shot attempts and had a pretty good game. I know Rozier popped off last game. They were chucking a bunch against Toronto, and he ended up having 50 DK points, and I kind of mentioned that. But I think a guy like Terry Rozier, he kind of is in that category where, again, you can get 50 fantasy points for 7-3. So if that's something you're interested in, upside play that is at that 7K range, he's in the conversation, I think, in tournaments for sure. You can make case for LaMelo Ball. Always, he's a stud that you can go to. The guys I really want to talk about are on the Raptors side. So talked about Pascal Siakam the last time he was in this matchup. He only had 48 DK points, but it's not terrible at the price tag. Obviously, you want a little bit more, but he could obviously destroy Charlotte in this spot. The problem is they're just so loaded in Toronto, right? Between Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, and Fred VanVleet, it just feels like they're all just eating away from each other and all a little bit expensive. One more guy I kind of want to call out that's a little cheap that kind of popped off the last time he played him. And again, it's probably the wrong slate to do it, but because there's a lot of really good value plays. But Chris Boucher, the dude is an elite producer, and he's going up against Charlotte, right? I mean, this is the Charlotte Hornets where he can kill people down low. These are the spots where you want to look for these big men. That's why we talked about Pascal Siakam. You could make a case at 3-2. The guy could be an absolute monster. I mean, played 15 minutes last time, put up 26 DK points in the same exact matchup. It's probably too off the board for me, but it's just something to think about because Charlotte is one of those, flow chart kind of plays, right? Just play the center against them. That's why Pascal Siakam could be a really good contrarian pivot tonight that no one is going to be looking at. So I have some interest in these Raptors, but I also do understand that the floors for them to have rough games and for them to kind of hurt your lineup are certainly there because they only play with one basketball. And that starting five is just too many usage guys playing together right now for their price tags.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are Siakam can have his game. Fred VanVleet can have his game. OG, Scotty, but they can also all snowflake from you if another one starts off strong and takes over. So I think Trent, Siakam, I think they're all fine. FEV, I would probably only max one on this slate. But, yeah, I mean, you have to know the risk you're getting into. Bucks, Nets, that's where everyone's going to go. Miami's pretty thin too. This next game we're going to get up to, we're going to talk about, is a lot better than the first two we've talked about. Well, let's see what we're doing. Over 500 watching, 112 likes. Man, that's hurtful right now. Getting a little ratioed. Let's go 280, a little below 300. Nice 6-game slate. We want to get you the plays of the day. So 280 likes is what we're shooting for today. Let's keep it moving, though. Next game, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat. Low total, 211. Miami is favored by 6. But we have injury news on both sides. Milwaukee, Giannis is out. Middleton's out. Grayson Allen's out. Joe Ingles is out. Going over to the Heat side, Kyle Lowry's out. Tyler Hero's out. Caleb Martin's out. Duncan Robinson's out. Dwayne Dedmon is out. I mean, everyone's talking about the Bucks side, rightfully so. Middleton's still out. No Giannis there. Drew Holiday, 7-7, feels like a great play. Bobby Portis, 6-3. But there's value too. Pat Con, 3-7. Beauchamp, I think, starts. He's mid-priced at 3K. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Javon Carter, Brooke Lopez. I think all of the Bucks are in play. Good value. Drew Holiday, good spend. Bobby Portis, a good spend. The Miami side, I want to really get your thoughts on, though. DC, I'll start with you. These guys aren't really popping. I mean, they're missing a lot of their guys. Oladipo, Struss, Bam, Jimmy Butler. I think all of them are in play, and I don't think a lot of people are going to this Miami side. Gabe Vincent, talk about Bucks, talk about Miami. It's a great game.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks with missing Middleton and Giannis and Grayson Allen, I mean, they just seem like just smash plays here. I mean, Drew Holiday at 7,700. I think he's going to have a big game. He almost has to. They're really thin on the wings. Connaughton, Beauchamp, like you mentioned, look good. And, Portis and Brooke Lopez in the front court, I think, are awesome plays. So that's what should be the entire Bucks starting 5, right? I think are all excellent plays here. And then you've got, I think, Javon Carter off the bench is a decent play as well. So I'm definitely in on Milwaukee. I think you almost have to have $2, and I think you can play $4 or $5 in your lineup tonight if you want to, especially if you want to run it back. And I do with Jimmy and Bam Adebayo. I think people maybe have some sticker shock on their DraftKings prices tonight. Jimmy Butler at 9,700. He's usually a guy that lives in kind of around 9K range for the most part. And then Bam Adebayo up over 9K. I think people are going to be a little hesitant to pay that, but I mean, Bam's had plenty of big games recently. He's coming back from, I think he just missed one game with a wrist contusion. So he should be good to go. If you watch that last game, Miami's game against, was that OKC? Yeah, that was a game they were even more shorthanded, right? They didn't have Bam there. They could play all 5 Heat players in my main lineup and worked pretty well. It was like, one missed free throw or something to going into overtime being the absolute stone nuts. I'm willing to pay this price tag for Butler and Adebayo. I mean, they just don't have much else. Like if you watch them play that game, like Gabe Vincent, gonna probably start at point guard. Like he's not doing all that much on the court, right? It's mostly Jimmy, and I think you're gonna see a lot of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo 2-man game against this Bucks team. I think that's by far their best route to offense. I could see these guys. I could see Adebayo racking up assists in this game, honestly. Kind of a tough matchup, right, for Adebayo against Brooke Lopez, who's a pretty damn good defender down there. But Adebayo's got enough of a varied offensive game where I think he can get there anyway. So if you're loading up on the Bucks like I am, you kind of need this game to stay close. You need the Heat to be competitive. And if they are, I think it's going to be a lot of Jimmy, Adebayo. Those are my 2 favorites by far, and you can fit them because the Bucks are relatively cheap. And then beyond that, I think Victor Oladipo could potentially be in line for a big game here. He'd probably be my 3rd guy, Struss 4th, and Gabe Vincent 5th. But yeah, I think Jimmy and Adebayo are going to have to carry the load here. So, if you like game stacking, which I certainly do, this looks like a really, really good one to do it. Certainly a strategy I'll be using on a few lineups.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent looks like the most popular Heat guy too. So, from what you just said, it sounds pretty obvious that you're fading him, going with the Butler, Bam route, Strauss, have the other guys get there.
Vincent's terrible, man. Like that. He's bad.
You just took the same word out of Boss Bros. He said Vincent is horrible, lol. He said the same thing you said. Man, go to you. I agree with DC. Talk about the Bucks side, of course. That's where people are going, but we can't ignore these Heat. It looks like some people will be, and they're thin.
Yeah, to counter.
And talk on Brook Lopez. I mentioned him briefly, but someone asked about him in chat.
I'll definitely talk about him. To counter what Boss Bro said, he also said Fred VanVleet stinks, so I don't know if we can trust Boss Bro's opinion that much. That's my only thing. But Fred VanVleet doesn't stink. He's playing with a million guys that get the basketball. But let's talk about two guys that are gonna hog the basketball tonight, right? It's Jimmy Butler probably and Bam Adebayo. I thought DC brought up good points there, and they're not really popping at all today right now. It's because of their price tags. They feel a little expensive, but they're definitely options that I think could be contrarian spend ups that you can go to. So I think they're in the conversation today. The thing about Gabe Vincent to kind of point out, and I think Gabe Vincent's fine. He's not like a play I'm in love with. He's popping a ton, and at his ownership, and at 4K, you could make a case with how deep the guard position is. You don't need to go there, right? There's a bunch of options you can play. For instance, there's 3 spend-up options that are absolutely amazing plays. Kyrie Irving, Drew Holiday, and Luka. Just write that in there. Now, I know, I get it. They're all different positions, and I think Gabe Vincent slots in better at that shooting guard spot specifically because of that alone. But just point I'm getting to is guard is kind of deep, and that's like those 3 studs that people are going to be going to. So will people play Gabe Vincent? I think they will, and I think they'll have him at mainly the shooting guard spot. Oladipo will definitely get overlooked because he was bad last game. If Oladipo had like a 40, 50-point DK game last time out, his projection would probably be higher. I bet you sites would push him a little bit more because of that. He was definitely not as great. Max Struss, the case you can make for him is because he's got that small forward eligibility, and small forward is not really a spot that a lot of people are spending on today. If you look, LeBron is going to get less ownership than these other guards that we talked about. So Max Struss is probably going to get a little bit of love here. The small forward that's going to get a lot of love in this game right now is it looks like it's Pat Connaughton. I think it's because he's shooting guard and small forward eligible. I know he had a good game yesterday, willing to chuck the ball a lot, and he's only 3.7K. Marjon Beauchamp is kind of in a similar spot too because he's got the shooting guard eligibility and small forward, and he's 3K. So I do think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards them for sure in this spot. I really like it for Drew Holiday too at 7.7K. I played him last night, and it definitely worked out for me. I think I'll consider going back to the well for sure. Ownership will obviously be a little bit higher. I believe yesterday it was like 13%. I think Drew Holiday ends up being more of a higher owned guard today. You'll probably see him come in at like above 30%, could even get to like 50, 60% for sure on this slate. So like Drew Holiday, Javon Carter is the one that I probably won't get to as much. He's fine at his price tag, but with Drew Holiday there, it's just going to be a little bit tougher to play Carter, I think. The starting lineup could change my mind if Javon Carter ends up starting, but you could make a case that, hey, being with all these high usage guys, it could be tougher. And I know Giannis is like as high usage as it gets, but we know Bobby Portis like hogs the ball, right? Like Bobby Portis is a guy, if he is in that starting lineup, which I assume he will be, he's a great play at 6.3K, and he is probably going to take away from a lot more of these players than you think. At least Giannis passes the ball, right? Like Giannis gets triple doubles. Bobby Portis does not get assists like that. So I do think Bobby Portis is a play that you got to like in DFS because 6.3K, pretty good price tag, and the upside that he has is just insane, right? I mean, if you fade him, it always feels like after one quarter, the dude has 20 DK points in these spots for sure. Now let's get to Brook Lopez because that's what gets me a little concerned because like Bobby Portis playing next to Brook Lopez, that actually I think hurts Brook Lopez more than you think. When you have Giannis down there, typically what happens is they double Giannis, right? Because Giannis deserves the double. Does Bobby Portis deserve a double team? No. And if Bobby Portis is double teamed, is he passing out? No, he's still putting the ball up, right? Giannis is at least kicking that thing out to Brook Lopez. And yes, Brook Lopez, I think, is not a bad play at his price tag at 5.6. But I just want to call out that they do play with one basketball. I say that phrase a lot, but it's just the truth. And if Bobby Portis goes for like 60 DK points, that is going to hurt Brook Lopez for sure a ton. So I think you should consider grouping these guys away a bit. Not saying you need to, but it's definitely something that I'm going to at least think a little bit about when I'm building out my lineups.
If you watch the last game, Miami like threw it into Jimmy Butler, in the elbow post area. Like, I mean, it must have been like 25, 30 possessions. It was, because they were missing Lowry and Hero, who they're also missing in this game. So I assume that's going to be a similar strategy that Miami used. It obviously worked in that game against OKC. But Jimmy shot 23 free throws in that game. Who's going to guard Butler for Milwaukee? I don't really see any obvious.
I think they could throw Beauchamp at him.
Yeah. But I don't see anybody that can really slow him down, right? Like the way maybe
unless they go Drew. Maybe they do just go Drew. I mean, he plays so much
he don't
bigger
care
than
though.
he is.
They could definitely do Drew.
I think Drew. I think it might be Drew.
Yeah.
Because like Haywood Highsmith, like you don't need to worry about him. Max Struss, have a guy run around.
Lopez isn't quick enough, right? I think Butler can get around him too easily.
Brooke Lopez, he'll be on ban. Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, that's what I mean. They probably want to hide him.
It really might be the Drew thing, even though it's like a smaller matchup. He can get on him and get a little uncomfortable. And to like the point of Gabe Vincent, right?
Beauchamp's athletic too. They might want to see what the young kid has there too to compete.
They might start with Beauchamp and then like switch it over to Drew later on, like late in the game.
Yeah, sure. They'll throw multiple bodies at him for sure.
But I like that matchup for Butler, whoever it is. I think obviously Giannis would just shut that down completely, right? That plan would kind of go out the window for the Heat if Giannis was playing in this game. But with no Giannis, I think the Heat will try to do that. And, the plan is going to be for Butler to get to the line like he did last game. So you could see foul trouble for a couple of these Milwaukee guys, Lopez or perhaps Portis defending the rim or whoever ends up guarding Butler one-on-one. Because he's going to, he does his tricks trying to get people up in the air, draw fouls. Yeah. He's a master at it. So just something to pay attention to with the Milwaukee guys.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are thin. You look at it, the Heat have 8 guys if you're not including Udonis Haslem, which I'm not including, so still 8 guys there. The Bucks, they have more, but something like Thanasis, Wesley Matthews hardly played. Sandro, doubt will really play. George Hill, AJ Green, like they'll play 15 minutes or something. So, both teams are really thin. This is you can easily, DC's talking about game stacking it up. It's the third game we've talked about. The first 2 we really don't have much interest in. Yep. Definitely looks like a good game stack to go here. Big T Drew is not even that much smaller than Jimmy. Yeah, stats. I wonder what like the 6'7" versus 6'4", whatever Google says in that route. But for how Drew plays, he can definitely. I'm not worried about the too small against Jimmy. DC, did you figure out what Google says though? Is it like 6'6" Jimmy?
6'7" versus 6'3", it says. So,
6'7" versus 6'3".
You could tell I was Googling, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could, and that's what I wanted too. So I appreciate that. But yeah, Drew plays way bigger than he is. He can guard D Jimmy. But there's so many pick and rolls, and there's only so many pick and rolls, so much different stuff. I don't worry as much about the
Does that make you like Drew any less? If he's got to guard Jimmy, that
he does it literally every single game. Especially in he guards the best player. He follows him around for 4. So that's just what he knows now. I'm not really worried that way.
The reason you'd be worried more defensively is I get annoyed when the guy just like some defenders just face guard them all the way up the court and they're the NBA players all right, we're not going to force this to you. We'll bring it up with someone else. That happens a lot, which you can get frustrating. But Jimmy's going to find a way to get his touches. But it is a point to mention that Drew could definitely cause some problems for Jimmy.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's only a 211 total. Again, I read off the totals. I like people having an idea when you hear 210 versus 240. But the main thing in NBA DFS is this team's very short. They're going to play 40 minutes. I will take that over what the total is. But it is worth noting that. Let's keep it rolling, though. 600 watching, 180 likes. I said 280, so need 100 more. Let's try and push over 300 today, though. We'll keep it rolling. When you do hit that like button, hit that big red subscribe button for us. We appreciate it. Moving on to the next game on the slate. This one's at 7:30 as well. The 2 late games at 10. Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets, 222.5 total. Boston is favored by 1.5. KD is out for the Nets. Going to Boston. Al Horford is out. Jaylen Brown is questionable. Obviously, with KD out, people are going to be going to all these Nets. Kyrie, a great play. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Royce O'Neal, Claxton, TJ Warren. It feels like a similar spot with the Bucks. Can play them all. Curious to see how you guys rank them. As far as Boston, if Jaylen Brown misses, Tatum, Grant Williams will probably start for him. They're already missing Horford, so there's Robert Williams. I'll go to you first, man, going in this one. Talk about Boston, what Jaylen Brown news does for you, and then the Nets without KD. How many's too many? Who are your favorites? Break it all down.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown news definitely matters. So let's at least start there. He's going to be very important. Jaylen Brown is obviously going to be someone that when we get that news, we might want to make some adjustments. Some of the adjustments we might make. Well, obviously, right now, spending him at forward is not really something people are doing, and maybe spending for Tatum could be a really good contrarian route. Also, on top of that, maybe he gets more ownership. It could, and then it takes away from some of those guards. We'll have to see kind of what the all the projection sites, right, optimizers, what they're all pushing, right. That's always what matters. So we have to wait for that news to kind of figure all of that out. I do think overall, though, that if Jaylen Brown sat, you'd want to look at some of these Celtics. So we also already have Al Horford. He is out, and that's going to help Robert Williams at 4.7K. Obviously a really elite producer. The question is, what will the minutes be for him? I could see spots.
Are you sure it's going to help him? Like, because so far he hasn't played over 22 minutes in any game. So, I mean, maybe, but like if they're going to keep his minutes at that limit, which I'm not sure, but if they are, it doesn't really help him because he was playing those minutes with Al Horford on the court or not.
What I could see them doing is, and I think this is the most logical scenario, I could see them going with Robert Williams to start the game. I could see his minutes get to 24, 26. I could, but I can also see it go the way where his minutes still stay the same and even go down. And both sides agree to go small ball, and you put Ben Simmons at the 5 and you put Grant Williams at the 5. Like I could see it. Like
I'm nervous about Robert Williams' minutes. I'd be surprised to see him just get over 25. It feels like they're being cautious with him.
They're not going to risk it just for, I mean, they kind of have a plan, right? They're
playing the long-term game for sure.
Yeah.
But he's an elite producer, right? Like he can.
He just put up 41 in 20 minutes.
But I think some people are like, oh, now he's going to play 30 minutes. Like I just don't see that happening here.
Agree. He's not playing 30 minutes. His price tag too is what is it? 4.7. So it is. I thought it was going to be 4. I thought it was 4.4 or 4.3. I think that was last slate. So that 300 does matter. But I think Robert Williams. He's in play for me. I'll consider it as like a contrarian option that you could go to. But Tatum would obviously see a lot of the usage of Brown's out. Marcus Smart would get a nice bump. Also, Malcolm Brogdon at 5'6". I mean, he played great the other day with Smart out of there. And like Malcolm Brogdon is one of those guys that will really benefit. What typically happens is Jason Tatum comes out of the game kind of early. And Malcolm Brogdon is normally out there within that Jaylen Brown rotation. That's going to be really good for Malcolm Brogdon. So I think it's a pretty good spot for him. I definitely like his opportunity here that he's going to have. He's 5.6K. Still might even come off the bench, right? They like to have him come off the bench there just because they're trying to be cautious with his minutes as well throughout the season because he's someone who's had injuries throughout his career, and they want to make sure he's good for the postseason. So I think there's a lot of good options if Jaylen Brown is out. If he's not out, it's obviously going to make it a little bit of a muddier situation. You could consider some of these guys, but I'm not super excited about it. But like I said before with Grant Williams, he could gain a lot more minutes, and you could see the small ball lineups. And if people want to say, oh, Grant Williams can't cover, guys at the 5, he's literally covered Joker at the 5, right? I mean, he's covered one of the best in the league. So he can do it. If they want to go that route, it's certainly possible. And that's how they keep Robert Williams' minutes down a little bit for sure.
Another reason they do, Beantown in chat, dropping great info. Celtics broadcast last night said expect Blake Griffin to get some run. Another big body they could. I mean, it definitely makes sense. So
Blake Griffin revenge game too. If you want to get behind that a little bit, but they use Blake Griffin way more than you'd realize. Like, if you remember on Christmas, they were using him a ton. So that's certainly
when they're thin. I mean, they're not pushing Robert Woods next man up. That's all this Boston team is.
Maybe Blake will have a turn back the clock night like Taj Gibson last night.
What did Taj end up finishing with?
I don't know what he finished with, but he had like 13 fantasy points in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think he hit the 20s for sure. And in the 20s,
he turned back the clock all right, for sure. Taj in his 20s. Maybe Big Blake can get 22
I stacked the Wizards without Taj, and I was just tilting my brains out watching those first 5 minutes.
Oh, don't remind me. Rui. Yeah. That rotation with Rui, everything tilted me with Rui. But don't remind me that too.
Title one comment in the chat. Obviously, we're joking about Blake Griffin, but Michael here, he says he's not playing Blake Griffin. Sure, sometimes we mention guys that we're clearly not playing, but that's going to affect other players, right? It's going to affect Robert Williams' minutes. It's going to affect just a lot of the way the game.
Grant Williams, knowing that Blake Griffin, when he hasn't played the past 3-4 games, is going to get run tonight. At least that's what we expect, which totally makes sense. That means you cannot project Grant Williams. Even if Jaylen Brown's out and he slides in the starting lineup, all that, you can't project him for 38 minutes, which if Blake Griffin didn't play, he could play 38 minutes. So, I see it the same way, Mango.
Yeah. Also, I haven't talked about the net side, so let me get into that. Because, no KD, right? No KD is massive. Kyrie Irving, going to be one of the best guard options on the slate. Like I said, there's 3 guards that everyone wants to go to today. It's Kyrie, it's Drew, and it's Luka, right? Those are just the ones because we have all this value, so Luka's the ultimate spend. On top of that, you have Kyrie in a spot with no KD, Drew in a spot with no Giannis. It's pretty simple that people are going to be looking to go to them. Kind of like yesterday's slate. If you remember, and I know they're not the same price tags, but everyone was looking to play 3 guys, it felt like. It felt like the 3 were Murray, Levine, and Kuzma. Two of those guys busted yesterday. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen here, but it's possible, right? Like guys can bust. It's not like just because you look like an absolute lock doesn't mean you are. So that's definitely one way to be different is if you just only played one of these guys, right? If you played Luka only and faded Kyrie and Drew, like that would instantly make you different right away. So, but Kyrie definitely going to be a good spend to go to. Ben Simmons, he definitely has thrived in this role when he can be like kind of do his own thing and like kind of play at that 5 more. I assume he's going to get that opportunity tonight. So I think at 5'4", he's kind of an interesting option that we want to be considering here. Obviously, if he's going against Robert Williams a lot, that's going to be kind of tough because of that rim protection down low because he can't shoot. But he's going against Blake Griffin, right? Or like Grant Williams down low there. It could definitely be a lot easier for him, and he could definitely have his way.
Simmons doesn't really go against anybody on offense, right? He doesn't like, I don't know. He's not like posting people.
He goes against himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just the rim is protected more with Robert Williams in there, right? Sure. That's the only point I'm getting at, I guess. But TJ, if you're looking for scoring to be replaced, Kevin Durant's scoring needs to be replaced by maybe TJ Warren. He could be a really good option that you can go to. I know Royce O'Neal was discussed in the chat a bit. I don't hate Royce O'Neal in this spot, but I'm not dying to get there. He'd be more of like a last piece in at 4.5K. Definitely not like a bad projection, right? But like definitely not racing to play Royce O'Neal, right? Again, last guy type of in person that I would be looking to go to. He's one of those spend down small forwards that you could consider here on this slate. But yeah, there's a lot to like obviously in this game, and that Jaylen Brown news could be a lot that shakes things up and could change things that basically shift a lot of the ownership. And it also could not shift ownership and give you some really good plays at low ownership. So that's something to look for.
For sure. Shaw's Demon said, did they say Blake will play tonight? If you read probably like 12 messages ahead, Beanstown, some in chat said he listened to the Boston broadcast yesterday and they said he would get some run today. So that's what we're going off of. And with Horford out, it makes sense. DC, talk more about the Jaylen Brown. If he is out, Brogdon, Tatum, all those guys. We already have a good side on the Nets. I think this and the Bucks games, the 2 games people are going to go to, mainly the Miami side, not the Boston side if Brown is in. But take it away. There's lots to talk about.
Yeah, Brown is out. The bump from Jaylen being out is real, but it gets spread out a little bit. You know, it's not. You get some situations where a star player is missing. I don't know. You think like LeBron and then Dennis Schroeder and Westbrook just get massive bumps. It's not really that way, I don't think, for Boston. Yes, you're going to get a bump for Tatum, Smart, Brogdon, Derek White, right? All those guys. Grant Williams a little bit, get bumps. But I think it gets spread out among those guys. So none of those guys would become must plays for me, but they certainly all become more appetizing, where I don't really want to play Jason Tatum at 10.5 on this slate with so many good studs, unless Brown is missing. So we'll see on that. Yeah, if he's out, I think you can play any of those guys. Smart, Brogdon, Tatum would be my 3 favorite there. If he's in, I probably won't end up going too much on Boston. And honestly, the Nets make me a little bit more nervous, I think, than most people. I mean, I'll take Jimmy Butler over Kyrie tonight. I know they're not the same position or even the same price, but I mean, I'm seeing Butler at like under 10% owned and Kyrie 30 to 40% owned. Yeah, give me that all day. I mean, this is still a really tough matchup for Boston. And, you can make the argument Kyrie wants to beat his old team. But you know who else wants to shut him down? Marcus Smart. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty tough spot, I think, for Kyrie, who is kind of scoring dependent. It's not like he's super cheap. He's got to put up, 45 at least, probably to be on the winner or close to it tonight. So super high owned. I don't think he's a lock to get there. And then the rest of the Nets, I know people are going to try to go there for value, but this is a pretty deep team, even without KD. Like, they've got guys like Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, who aren't even seeing the court yet, right? Who they could introduce those guys. Markieff Morris back into the rotation. Joe Harris, Seth Curry only playing 15, 20 minutes. Those guys could steal more minutes as well. So I'm unsure what the Nets are going to really do without KD, who's obviously been healthy for a while now. But I think the minutes and the usage will be spread around a little bit. Obviously, Kyrie is the number one beneficiary there, but I do think it'll be spread around, and the Nets value makes me a little bit nervous. I do think Royce O'Neal, my favorite of the bunch. We did see, when the Nets have lost Kyrie or Durant, it does seem like O'Neal like steps into 35, 40 minutes every night, just kind of as a glue guy in there. So not the most exciting play, like Mangone said. He's never going to probably pop off for 40 fantasy points, but I do think he's a pretty good bet for 20 plus, good chance of 25 at 4,500. So yeah, more of a last guy in, but like guys like Curry, Joe Harris, those types of guys, even TJ Warren, they make me.
You like the Bucks guys and the Heat guys more, like the Struss, the Beauchamps.
Give me Connaughton and Beauchamp over the Brooklyn value.
And then last thing, because you're not playing Kyrie, no interest there. I guess it's not necessarily just
I want to say
Ben
no
Simmons.
Interest, but yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. I mean, you can't play all the chalk. I mean, if he busts on a 6-game slate like this, you get. But if you're not playing him in that lineup, like Ben Simmons, would you want to jam in? I mean, he's only 5'4". Like, you have more interest in him. Obviously, he passes a lot, so it's not like they negatively correlate. But what are your thoughts there? If you fade Kyrie, just fade the Nets all in general, or what?
Yeah, I mean, you could go to Simmons. Like I said, I think Royce O'Neal may be my favorite value play there. But I could also see more of a defensive game in this one. I know, the defensive game is kind of projected to be Milwaukee and Miami, but I'm not completely convinced on that one. So I guess I'll be hoping that Celtics defense shows up a little bit here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Bucks and Miami total. Miami always plays at a slow pace. They're always low total, but without Giannis on the court, Middleton's still not there. Like, man, Beauchamp, Pat, you look at that starting lineup and you look at some of the depth. It's like, how much can Vegas really project them to put up? So I see what you're saying there. Let's keep it rolling, though. 2 games left on this slate. About 700 watching, 240 likes. Let's get over 300. Should easily be able to get 350 and stuff today. Soon we'll get you the plays of the day, but we appreciate like button, big red subscribe button. Takes 2 seconds. 2.5 hour window between those 4 games and the last 2. 10 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Mavericks, Los Angeles Lakers, 236 total. Dallas is favored by 3.5. On the Dallas side, Maxi Kleber out, Dorian Finney-Smith out. Dwight Powell is questionable. On the Lakers side, still without AD, of course. Pat Bev is out. Austin Reeves is out. Lonnie Walker is out. Mangone, I'll go to you. LeBron feels like a pretty strong play to me at 10-9. Luka, I think, gets more ownership in this one, 12.8K. Outside of LeBron and Luka, though, you got to talk me into someone if you see something standing out.
Yeah, there's not a lot that stands out here, but let's start with LeBron first, just because LeBron is like the perfect example of just like flipping the build tonight, right? One easy way to just like get different right away is use your salary on LeBron James, which, that's not a bad idea. There's no Anthony Davis. The only issue you worry about is they're playing the Dallas Mavericks, more of a paced down spot, but paced down basketball could be a little better for LeBron these days, for sure. He does like to slow it down a little bit at times. So again, should be a little bit of a slower paced game, but LeBron is definitely in the conversation. The problem with some of these Lakers titles, the prices have gone up, right? And now LeBron is back. Can I pay for Thomas Bryant at 6'9" with how deep center is? I just don't think I can get there. Dennis Schroeder, 6'4", with him not being the guy running the offense. That's kind of something that's concerning. It's just not a spot I can get excited about these Lakers. Even Russell Westbrook at 8'5", it's like just not the best use of my salary. So LeBron is like hey, you're flipping the build kind of strategy. Don't hate it completely. Think it's definitely in the conversation. I think either him or Tatum could be good candidates for that. And if we get that Brown news and Tatum is like turns into being a better play than LeBron James, LeBron could get even lower owned. So that's worth calling out. You could also play Luka, and you could play these 2 guys together. I don't know what that build looks like yet, but if you played both of them, I'm going to tell you one thing. You're probably not getting Drew Holiday and Kyrie in your lineup, and that's an instant way to kind of be different.
About 4,400 left, so you're definitely not getting them. And we do have the value on this slate. The Bucks, if you do like the Nets more, Miami, that's interesting.
You definitely can. That definitely reminds me of it reminds me of the slate where I had Luka and Tatum, and they absolutely crushed, just 2 double spends while the mid-tier just done it. And it was like the Raptors. They were like great plays, but then they just got blown out. And they didn't even play in the 4th quarter. So that's one way you could just be different right away. Really like Luka, though. Great spot for him. DC always likes to ask me when it's a Luka day. Today's definitely a Luka day. I mean, it's against the Lakers. It's a perfect spot. I mean, he's got some pretty crazy projections around the industry, and for a good reason. His projection deserves to be really high. It's just a fact. So what he's doing is absolutely amazing. Just depends how you can make it work with your lineup for sure. I definitely like him. He'll be someone that I look to roster tonight. And then other than that, like I can't get excited about Christian Wood. It's just like Christian Wood is just like too expensive for me. It's just, I get the matchups, the Lakers, but for me, it's really simple. It's Luka and LeBron. Considering them, trying to figure out how I'm going to play them, that's really the key.
Yeah, I think those are the two that you got to focus on in this game. A-Pone in chat. This slate is amazing. This slate is good. I like it more and more as we talk through it. And Mango, before I do get to DC, do you remember by chance last time we were on a show? I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago or something. Luka was on the slate. You even said, "Hey, DC, you know what? I know how to play Luka." Did he go off that day for you? Did you know when to play him?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't remember if he did, but if it was 2 weeks ago, was it a Thursday or a Tuesday?
Well, I mean, I'll have to look on now. I really have to go dig deep.
He probably
on the
did.
calendar.
He go off like every game except that Boston game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Boston game, we were on the show in DC. We like the other side. We were betting the other side and stuff. Yeah. So I know it wasn't
I'll do some investigating while DC talks about this game.
All right. I know you're good at that. I like that. DC, talk about Thomas Bryant. Someone in the chat mentioned him, but Luka, LeBron, touch on them. Anything? Thomas Bryant, anything in this one?
I think if I'm playing Luka or LeBron, I'm trying to get the other one with them and just taking a contrarian route in that particular lineup, right? Hoping for a shootout here. I assume this game is the TNT game, or I believe so. It's got to be. So yeah, I think good spot to play both these guys. Of course, you could play one or the other, but I think I would prefer to pair them up. Does seem like them going off would be kind of correlated together, and not many people are going to do that. I don't think be able to get both of them together. There's plenty of value on the Bucks and other spots. So yeah, I do like that a little bit, and. I know Mangone said he's not excited about Christian Wood, but I wouldn't mind including him in kind of a three-man game stack. I mean, Christian Wood has enormous upside, also enormous snowflake potential. You just see it in his last two games. One of them he plays 35 minutes, gets 18 fantasy points. The other he plays 39 and gets 50. But he has other games. Against the Pelicans, he only got 24 minutes but put up 42 fantasy points. 29 minutes, 48 fantasy points. And then the Lakers, he played them once this year. He had his best game of the year, 62.5 fantasy points for Christian Wood in 37 minutes against the Lakers. I don't know if Luka played in that game, but regardless, I mean, this is a good matchup for him against Thomas Bryant, who's, I think, a pretty good offensive player. But, I think Christian Wood can do his thing against this Lakers team. So yeah, I think that's a fun contrarian stack. Three really expensive guys you're gonna have to scrape for value, but I do think there's enough on this slate to make it happen. So really just the studs here: LeBron, Luka, and then I don't mind Christian Wood as well. Thomas Bryant, 6,900. He's shown some good upside too, but I'm probably not gonna be able to get there tonight.
How about Dwight Powell is questionable? News no one's talking about. They're already thin in the front court. If he's out, we could see a JaVale McGee spot start maybe. Would you guys bite? I mean, they can easily go Bertans at the 5, Dorian Finney-Smith. It's not saying that they're going to play center all 48 minutes, but man, looking at the depth and what they have at center.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about Christian Wood. Sometimes even when he plays well, he doesn't get the minute.
He can definitely play the 5 too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been starting at the 5 a lot. So I think that would give Wood better chance to get the minute ceiling for him.
Maybe if he's out, because usually Wood at the 4, Powell at the 5. Maybe they go Wood at the 5. It depends. If they want to keep the similar build they have, JaVale McGee and Powell play similar roles, high flyers, pick and roll guys above the rim. They could easily go Wood and go smaller, though, that way. So
sure.
We got to see the start. I mean, this game's 2.5 hours after the other ones. Maybe a night slate thing. He starts mid-price 3K. He fills out other stuff. But Powell would have to be out for that to even make some sense. 700 watching, 270 likes. Let's get over 300. You guys are going to get it for the plays of the day, but let's push over 300 on the premium show today. We got Holden, JSU, and AP taking you up to lock. Hopefully we get Jaylen Brown news there. Any questions? You got to be in the Discord. Ask them, the live show chats. Helmet's on a really cool thing where all the shows you can see now in Discord in the top left. If you're interested in what show is going to go live, the whole schedule's there. You can click a notification thing and it'll notify you when we go live. So cool thing we have there. Bunch behind the paywall, though. MMA this week, PGA going on right now, showdown stuff for all that, as always. NFL playoffs, so much going on over here. Great time to join us. Our Run Pure Sports, head over there, runpuresports.com, get in the Discord, and head over to the live show chat when we get off, talking some NBA, taking you up to lock. Last game of the slate, 280 is what we need for the likes. Cleveland Cavaliers, Portland Trailblazers, 220.5 total. Cleveland is favored by 3. Ricky Rubio is questionable on the Cavs. Nothing else there. As far as Portland, Dame is questionable. So obviously big news there as well. Nothing on that side. Don't think this game gets much ownership. To be honest, what stood out most was seeing Ricky Rubio questionable. He hasn't played since he had that ACL, I believe he tore last year. Man, DC, I'll start with you just because we were on the Rubio train. I know you were for sure last year. He had a monster games. I think the one he tore is ACL too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think did you get a triple-double in that game? You might have.
Yeah, I think he had like 63 DK points, absolutely was smashing. It was like 5 minutes left in the game or something, and that happens. But he was smashing because they were missing a couple guys. So, DC, I'll start with you. I mean, he's questionable. We're not playing Ricky Rubio. That's what stood out, though. But Mobley, Nurkic, Allen, I mean, the front court guys stand out more. It's not a game I think much ownership gets to, though.
No, you won't see much here. Happy to see Rubio back. Maybe my all-time favorite NBA player. Watched it. We got to watch him in person a lot at Target Center in Minneapolis. So happy to see him back healthy and, potentially contribute.
He's questionable.
Yeah. But, down the stretch contributing to a dangerous Cleveland team. I think if this team can stay healthy, they've got a chance, I think, in the playoffs. So, excited to see Rubio back. He's only going to take away a little bit assuming he can get back and healthy. He'll take away a little bit from Garland and Mitchell. So something to watch there. Obviously, it doesn't matter much for this game. I'm not going to the Cleveland guys here with a fully healthy team. I know they're going to be low owned. Just too much value early on to get there. The only way I'll end up probably on a lot from this game is if I do the kind of the Lakers Dallas stack, which you can do. And then maybe you need to pivot or something late, or you get some late news. The big piece of news is Damian Lillard, right? I do expect him to play. It seems like these ankle sprains, which is Lillard's injury, either they're like very serious, right, with like the high ankle sprain where you're going to miss multiple weeks, or it's a little tweak. And in these cases, I think they usually end up playing. Again, just speculating. But I do expect him to play. But if he does miss, I mean, Anthony Simons becomes one of the very best values on this entire slate, right? I don't think I'm going to, build lineups waiting for that news because I do expect Lillard to play. But if you can save a spot and kind of have plans to swap around and get Simons in there, Portland's already missing some other guys. They're out Winslow and Nasir Little, right? So they're already a little bit thin kind of on the wings. And Simons would have to really carry the load for this Portland team if Lillard does miss. Still a tough matchup against Cleveland, but yeah, you would want Simons if Lillard is out. But even if he is, I probably won't be able to swap to him on most of my lineups.
Yeah, I'm with you. So many of the better games before the 2.5 hours after these last 2 hours, that other game isn't great. I probably won't have many spots to navigate. If you do, though, and the news breaks your way, you're going to get it low on for sure. Always good night slates out there. Mangone, break down this game for us. Dame news, what you got?
Yeah, I got your Luka information. So if it was last week, it was 36 DK points against Boston. If it was the week before that where we had a show, which I was in Florida. So if you can remember what my setup was, that's how you'd be able to really remember.
I was home too. I do know that. So I think that probably was the one.
If it was that one, it was the Knicks game when he put up 110. So I gave you both basically.
No, I think I
don't even know if it was a Thursday.
I was a strong Luka fade in that Boston game. So
you brought that Luka fade in that Boston game. I remember that. So I can't remember exactly, but that's that. Also, DC, I'm encouraged by you talking about the Cavs to win the title because I put the wager in at 45-1 a while back. Should I hit the cash out option now or should I keep letting it ride?
Never hit the cash out option. No.
All right, just making sure. I wanted to see.
Bet someone else before hitting the cash out option.
I got the
wise words from DC.
Yeah, I got the bet in right before Mitchell got traded. I saw it and I was like on an app and I was like, let me get this wager in right now because this either way I could cash this out and make money. Worst case, I feel like. So we'll see what I do with the ticket, but they're looking good this year for sure. Definitely like what I see with them. Curious to see how they look with Ricky Rubio because they'll look even deeper if he's playing some good basketball. But so one of the big things with this slate is like, could you like fall into like the nuts of the news with like Anthony Simons being like a great play? Yeah. One of the problems you're going to have with that is like, one, let's say the news hits right. You've already missed on a great amount of amazing plays, right? So many good plays. And then how are you going to construct a lineup right? Like you have to have like the perfect like 2v2 or like if then statement for it. It just makes it really, really difficult to construct that up. especially, you could use like that Lakers game to like kind of help you out. But like the problem is if you use LeBron or you use Luka and then you want to pivot down to Anthony Simons at some point, well, you have nothing else to spend for because you're already at the top. So
I think the play there is to leave 6,800. And then if Lillard plays, you can just play Yusuf Nurkic at 6,800, who's had some really big games recently. That would be the way I would probably try to do it.
Yeah, you probably have to do it in the utility. That's probably not a bad way to do it. And he could also be a good play too. Or another route you can go with is you could just, let's say you want Dame to play. And like you're like, man, Dame at low ownership, sign me up. Well, then just put Donovan Mitchell in there and then make the pivot later on, right? I mean, it's a $300 difference. Will you feel great about playing 9.9K Donovan Mitchell? Probably not, but could he have a big game? Yeah, he could have a big game for sure. So that's definitely the route that you could go with. But I'm not really going out of my way to plan for this spot. That's the thing. It just seems very difficult to kind of figure out that equation. If you found a way that makes it work, great, but I'm not going to go out of my way for this game. I think there's good plays within it. I think Nurkic is interesting in his price tag. Simons would obviously be great if Dame was out. Dame could be a contrarian low-owned play, but I'd rather look at other guys up top as contrarian guys to kind of make pivots to as my studs. And it's tough to really get on that Cleveland side too much. I guess the one thing you could make a case for that I should call out is Jared Allen is questionable for this game. Or no, now it's probable. He moved the probable with the illness, but I will say illnesses have like kind of caused a lot of issues throughout the league this year. And like we saw Nurkic play a game and he like left the game early with an illness once. We saw it with Anthony Davis. So it could actually help Mobley's minutes a little bit and it could make him have a pretty nice role here. So wouldn't completely sleep on that at 6'4". If you wanted to go the route of picking between Mobley or Simons as your utility, I think that's not a bad route to go with at 6'5" and 6'4". But again, have some type of plan if you're going to try and work for this news. I'm not going to go out of my way though for it, but if I happen to fall into it, then I'll mess around and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to plan for this news. Save multiple spots. You're giving up so much early, and like if Sharp starts for Dame and Dame's ruled out, like is he that much of a better play than Pat Con, Beauchamp, all the stuff we have early? And if he's not, then definitely these last two games aren't very interesting. So I don't think you need to really wait on that news. If you brace your way, if we get it early, can always adjust. Scary creations. Why is everyone acting as if the blowouts against the Lakers not in play? Anyone worried about that? Dallas is only favored by 3.5. So if you're predicting blowouts at a spread like that, you should just be betting a bunch on the other side if you're worried about the Lakers getting blown out. So I wouldn't worry about that for DFS.
My best advice for you on blowouts is I want you to write down on a piece of paper. I have a piece of paper at the desk and say, I think this game's going to blow out, right? And then go through and check off your W's and L's for it. And there'll be more L's than W's there. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I mean, it's tough to predict them. I like to think of how are routes that my guy can't get there. And sometimes I'll think of like, let's say for instance, like, we'll use the Miami Heat as an example. How does Jimmy Butler bust, right? There's not a lot of routes to, but one is the game blows out and the Bucks like blow them out, right? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I try to think of, let me come up with a lot of different ways. And the way that I get worried about guys in blowouts is if they're really expensive options. So that could happen in the Luka case. That's what happened to him against Boston. Game blew out. He was kind of not getting the job done. And then he sat for the fourth quarter. So that's how I think of it. I kind of think of how many ways can I find outs to make this scenario work rather than just say, oh, I think this game's going to blow out.
Yeah, good point there. Everyone treats blowouts different. There's no right or wrong way. If you think it blows out, like I said, I'd bet the other side. There's no doubt about that. But then you don't play anyone in that game. I think that's a pretty easy way to go. Then last thing before we get plays of the day, Craig said, can we fade the late games and be okay? Obviously, if you don't play LeBron and Luka, that's the tough fades in the late two games. But there's other big, Bam, Jimmy Butler, other spends early too. And Embiid's a good play. So yeah, I think you could fade the last two games, shrink the slate that way. I definitely think you can go about that way. So let's get you the plays of the day. A little over 300 likes, 700 watching. We appreciate all 303 of you that hit the like button. All 400 that didn't, we appreciate you, but just a little behind all the other ones that did. Let's get in the plays of the day, though. I will start with myself first with the SO play of the day. Man, I don't know if you got the graphics. I will pull up the graphic there.
Yeah, I forgot I was supposed to do that.
You can take it over. You can take it over from now on, though. When I'm talking about this guy, I had to go first because I was scared one of you two might steal it. It is going to the Miami game. It is going all the way up. Jimmy Butler up top, DC, 9.7K. I do like him more than Bam. He's a contrarian spend. I'm seeing like 13% on a team that's going to be very thin without Giannis. Man, I mean, he's going to play 40 minutes. I'll get different with a 40-minute Jimmy Butler, and trust him to treat me well tonight. Need someone to get me back on track after these last couple of days with the SO play of the day. So Jimmy Butler, it is. DC, I might have taken yours, so I'll give you a little extra time. Heading over to the sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, man, this is tough. It's a really chalky slate, right? So it's hard to find that like completely unowned guy. I'll at least say that. But I'm gonna go with someone that I don't think is gonna see a ton of ownership, but I'll see some for sure. He'll probably be in that 15 to 20% range. Let's go with TJ Warren on the Nets. They're going to need some scoring production. And if the game did blow out, right, I still think he could even like be in there. That's sometimes some angles. I think if the game blows out, will my guy be in there chucking? He certainly could be if it's kind of late in the game. So let's go with TJ Warren as my play of the day.
I like that. Definitely like that call. Give you a little salary relief. You play Jimmy Butler, TJ Warren gives a little salary relief there. DC, the mom's basement play of the day. Take it home for us.
Yeah, I'll join you on the Heat. I think they're going to need both of their remaining studs to have big games here, as a shorthanded missing Lowry and Hero and some others. So yeah, I'll go Bam Adebayo back from a little injury. Kind of a tough matchup for him, but he's a multifaceted offensive guy. I think he can rack up the rebounds, get some assists here as well. So yeah, I love that Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo pairing with all those Bucks values.
I absolutely love it. Game stack that one up. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, TJ Warren, the 3 plays of the day. It was a fun show. Still got another one coming up at the top of the hour, though. That is premium. Holden, JSU, and AP taking you all the way up to lock. Jaylen Brown news might hit there. Always a fun time with Holden, AP busting Holden's balls. Tune in the live show chat. Check that out. PGA going on. Showdowns. If you have a tough start today or it's a long weekend, Snyder does a great job with the showdowns. Tambo and all the guys in there as well. MMA this weekend, NFL playoffs, have all the content on the site. Bunch of money to be made this weekend. Hope to see some RPS logos up top. How to run Pure Sports. Get in the Discord. That's going to do it for us, though. We'll see you in the live show chat. For Mango and DC, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.